Shabbat Shalom. This is Bill coming to you live again from the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. Good Sabbath to you all. This is our opportunity to come together and visit for a few moments each Sabbath morning to talk about the Creator of the universe, His beautiful Torah, His instructions for how to live a well-lived life on planet Earth in real time. How can a human being fulfill his purpose and his mission on the earth? How can he leave the world a better place than he found it? That's the stories that we're getting told in the Torah. That is the whole purpose of the Torah and the prophets. That is the whole purpose of the writings of the Psalms and the Proverbs. That is the whole purpose of the Megillot, the special books that we read at special seasons of the time. That is the sole purpose of what is called the Gospels, what is called the letters, and what is called the Revelation. All these revelation sources that come forth from the Torah, from the ground zero of Revelation, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, or the Torah. That's what we study. This is the 45th week of a series. We call this series Walking in the Light. You want to walk in the light rather than walk in darkness. The 45th portion of the 45th segment of this particular season is called Va'et Hanan. It's a Hebrew word. It comes from the first words in the Parsha, in the section. It's found at Deuteronomy 23. Let me try again. It's found at Deuteronomy 3, verse 23, through chapter 7, verse 11. So that's Deuteronomy 3:23 through 7:11. And there is so much in this parsha. This is the second installment of Moshe's opus magnum, his classic work, the last 36 days of his life, when he was given the opportunity to impact the world one last time. With all that he had done, and the raising of his rod, and the speaking to Pharaoh, and the deliverance from Egypt, and the splitting of the Red Sea, all the things that had been done by him with the Holy One's unction and power and anointing, all that comes down to 36 days. And in 36 days, he's going to tell us his story, what he has learned about walking with the Creator of the universe, walking on earth with men, walking in the world, and figuring out a way to live life well and do it the way the Creator designed to do it, have the impact the Creator designed to have. So that's Moshe's opus magnum is in process. This is week 2 of it. I call it Devarim, the substantive words and things of the Creator of the universe. Remembrance, reorientation, level 2. Last week, Moshe gave us a bird's eye view, a perspective on covenant history. He talked about numerous things that took place after we left Horeb, in the desert, in the wilderness. He talked about the reasoning of what the Holy One was doing, the purposes for which he was testing and checking us out, and giving us a chance to grow in the wilderness. So this is level 2. He's going to get very personal. And he's going to get very practical. He's going to get very fundamental in Parsha Va'et Hanan, his second installment in the Devarim, the remembrance and reorientation testing that he's doing. So what energy does he have? He has the energy of a man who knows he only has 36 days to live, and he has a window that's closing, a window of opportunity to impact the world that's closing. And these are the words. The book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, as it's called in the Western world. These are the words that he chooses to use in his last 36 days. We have them in written form. We read them every year. These are like life to us, because it is the wisest man, the one who walked with the Holy One face to face and talked to him as a man speaks to a friend, tells us in the course of these writings what life should be about. So we have much to talk about today. This is the parsha in which we discussed the famous Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. This parsha contains this particular set of verses. And in English, we would translate it not necessarily as the King James or some of the more sterile doctrinal kinds of interpretations have done, but I would interpret it to say, listen, hear, pay attention, heed, respond, and resonate with these words, O Israel. Our God is the Holy One, and the Holy One is oneness personified. He is a unifying unity. He brings all things together under His auspices and under His shade. Blessed be His glorious attributes, all of them, and His kingdom forever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutu Le'olam Va'ed. And these words have become to us like an awakening call, a shofar blast. Every morning, every evening, every event of life, we speak these words, and they remind us that we are more than just physical bodies. We are more than just dealing with momentary stimuli and challenges. We are a covenant people. We are tied to eternity, and we are connected to the Creator of the universe. How blessed is that? Well, our theme for this year, as we've said, is walking in the light and discovering the secret wisdom that's encoded in Torah's timeless stories. Torah is a timeless volume of wisdom. It's told in storyteller's fashion, and those stories, each of those stories is like a parable, like a mashal, like a proverb that tells many wise things. With this in mind, with this theme in mind, and with the realization that most of you come into this teaching today, this discussion today, our time together today, from different trials and tribulations in the world, and with different emotions going on in your head, and different thoughts and different voices being spoken over you, I want to stop. I want to hit pause on all that. I try to do this every week as we do these studies. Within your situation in mind, and with the fact that now we have entered into the Sabbath in mind, I have a few questions for you, beloved. A few questions to help you lift your heads above the mess of the world. Lift your heads and adjust your eyes and your vision to the light that's coming from heaven. And begin to acclimate, to change your thinking to match more appropriately with Seventh-day Sabbath spirituality levels. What if we thought on the Holy One's level? What if we thought in Sabbath, at Sabbath tones and rhythms? Well, here's the questions that I would ask to get you thinking in those Sabbath levels. First one is, how well attuned are you with the Holy One, our partner in covenant? How well attuned are you? How covenantally in sync are you? How are you doing cleaving to Him, joining up with Him, walking with Him, bonding with Him? How are you doing? How much of your time is actually spent shadowing and staying in His shade, shadowing Him, staying in His shade, and mirroring His actions? How are your devaking skills, we would say, maybe with a little bit of Hebrew involved? How good are you at clinging to Him, cleaving to Him, joining with Him, keeping up with Him, walking with Him, bonding with Him? How good are you at then shadowing Him and staying in His shade and not wandering and straying out of His shade? How good are you at mirroring His behaviors, His moods, His tones? How good are you at mirroring? Well, this is partially about Etchanan, and before Moshe gets real specific, as he will in the rest of the book, and he starts throwing details about us, about how to avoid the pitfalls of this world and its cries and its screams and its shouts for vengeance and for anger and for offense and for outrage and for lust and for selfish pleasure. Before we get too deep into those details, Moshe wants to get very general, make sure that we have the foundations down. That's our story in Parsha. So before we get too deep into it, I want to keep asking questions. I want to get your minds raised up, lifted up, and your heart lifted up, and your eyes adjusted to the light by asking you a few more questions. How intimately do you know the Creator? I don't mean know about him. I don't mean to know, facts about him, or you've read stories about him, or you've heard tales, or you've been to meetings where he's talked about. I want to know how intimately you actually know him. How actively are you pursuing knowing him better every day, every week, every year? And if you are actively pursuing getting to know him better in these sequences of time, how are you doing it? What are your disciplines? What are your protocols? What are you doing to get to know him better? It doesn't just happen. We participate in a series of disciplines and protocols, and the Holy One meets us in those disciplines and protocols, and that's what Moshe is going to talk to us about in this second phase of Parsha, of Sefer Devarim, of the book of his wisdom. The next question I would ask you to help you elevate your thoughts is, how much do you fear the Holy One? And we could change the word to revere, to be in awe of, to be reverent toward, to be in a state of wonder regarding. How much do you fear the Creator of the universe? Really, because the fear of the Holy One is what? It's the beginning of knowledge. If you want to know how much you know him, you've got to ask yourself, how much do I really fear him? How much do I revere him? How much do I honor him? How much am I in awe and wonder of him? And how does that manifest in my life? Another question to ask, as Moshe would try to get us ready for the wisdom he's about to download. How much do you trust the Holy One, your God? How much are you willing to just say, I just believe you're going to take care of this. I believe you know what you're doing. I believe you're wise. I believe your words are more valuable than my words. I believe your opinions are more valuable than my opinions, or any man's opinions, or any religion's doctrines. I believe your ways are better. How much do you trust the Holy One with your life, with your children, with your family, with your world, with your nation, with your generation? How much do you trust the Holy One? And how does that show itself? How does that manifest? Another question. Take a deep breath. The questions keep coming. How much do you love the Holy One? Oh, we're getting some words that you're going to find again. How much do you know him? How much do you fear him? How much do you trust him? How much do you love him? These are all words we're going to see in Moshe's phase 2 of the book of Devarim and Parsha Va'et-Kanah. These are the verbs he's going to be talking about as he lays the foundations and the fundamentals of relationship with the Creator of the universe in Covenant 101. So how much do you love him? The Holy One, that is. And what is the evidence in your life, on your life, of that love? How does it manifest? And how is your communication with the Holy One going? I mean, it's one thing to think we believe in him. It's another thing to actually communicate with him. Have conversations, two-way conversations, where you sense his presence is with you, but more than his presence, his directions, his words, his counsel is with you. The witness of the Holy One. These are questions. Well, it's all about attunement. Parsha Va'et-Kanah, the portion of the Torah between Deuteronomy 3:23 and 7:11 is all about attunement. We're going to have some keys to how to get in tune, attuned to the Holy One. What is attunement? Attunement is a thriving relational state. Do we have a thriving relational state with the Creator of the universe? Moshe wants us to know, before we get into the details of how we're going to build the kingdom of heaven in its society, and how we're going to avoid the pitfalls of the raging nations as we do build that and build out that kingdom of heaven sent in society on earth. Before we get to those details, he says, do you have a thriving relational state? Are you in attunement? Are you attuned to the Creator? Now, this attunement state requires us to have some awareness of and responsiveness to the Holy One's worldview and perspective. Do we see the world through his eyes? Do we perceive the events that transpire and make up our lives as through his lens of vision and his perspective on history and on humankind and on the purpose for which he created the universe in the first place? Do we have an awareness of and a responsiveness to his perspectives and his emotions? Yes, the Holy One has emotions. They're not like human emotions. They're not toxic. They're not noxious. They are holy, they're righteous, they're good, they're energetic, they release pulses of energy into the earth. So but are we in tune? Are we attuned to? Are we in tune with and attuned to the Holy One's emotions? And are we with him wherever he is in his continuum between shalom on the one end and agitation on the other end? Where are we? Where is he and where are we? Are we in tune? Attunement involves disciplines, as we've said before, protocols, ways of tuning in, like you tune a musical instrument. You have to find ways to tune into his rhythm and tune out of the rhythm and the frequency and the tone of the raging nations and the peoples that imagine vain things. Attunement involves disciplines of tuning into and then understanding and resonating with the Holy One's inner world of who he really is, what motivates him, what moves him, what makes him tick. This is like in any relationship. When you get in tune with him, you understand, you begin to mirror and feed off of them, and you begin to reflect them as you get closer and closer in attunement. So, attunement is about fostering a sense of closeness and connection, and facilitating a healthy and harmonious flow of communication. First, of interaction, second, of cooperation, third, and then collaboration, fourth, till you become a team with the one you're attuned to. How attuned to the Holy One are you? Well, welcome, beloved, to the Parsha of Moshe's most precious secret of all. If you want to know how Moshe got to speak to the Holy One face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. If you want to know how that happened, if you want to know how he maintained that over the course of 40 years and to the end of his life, if you want to know his most precious secret of all, this is your Parsha. In this Parsha of Torah, this section of the Torah, Moshe reveals his most precious secrets of all, the 7 or 8 personal protocols and disciplines that he has learned to use in order to achieve and maintain face-to-face level attunement with the Holy One. We're going to learn about things like fearing the Holy One. We're going to learn about things like shemaing his voice and his words. We're going to learn about things like akarim, following him, and yalakim, walking with him. We're going to learn things about yadayim, beginning to experientially know by virtue of interactions and encounters and communications the very thought processes and the purposes and the intents of the Holy One. We're going to learn about avad, serving, ministering to, humbly reporting for duty at the bequest of and as he desires, abading. We're going to learn about loving, what it means in the Hebrew, what it means in the divine order to love the creator of the universe. What are the manifestations and the fruit of that love, and what does that look like? How can you tell? What's a sine qua non, the thing without which it couldn't be? And we're going to learn about zakaring, remembering, keeping it in our memory and in the forefront of our mind, periodically rehearsing in order to keep remembering the things, the goodness, and the past blessings of the Holy One. So, why do we fear the Holy One? 5 times in this Parsha Vayetchanan, the Holy One's going to talk about fearing the Holy One as the key, as one of the first foundational stone of this idea of the secrets of a true attuning relationship. Fearing the Holy One. What about him should we revere, honor? What about him should we be in awe and reverence of? Well, his glory, his kavod in Hebrew, this weight that he carries. He doesn't move, he doesn't impact the world like human beings do. We have sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but minimal impact upon the world. We have some, but not that great. But boy, when the Holy One moves, it's just like everything changes. He's a total paradigm shifter when he moves, kavod, his weight, the glory that he carries. His kedusha, the energy that pulses, it creates a response in us, like it does in the heavenly realms. The kedusha energy of the Holy One is like a pulsing energy that comes from his very being, that when we see and we respond to, we cry, holy, holy, holy is the Holy One Almighty. The whole earth may it be filled with his glory, with his kavod. We sense it like the 4 living creatures do and the 24 elders do, falling on their faces and casting their crowns before his throne and saying, oh, blessed is he, blessed is he. Blessing and honor and glory and power forever and ever be to the Lamb who sits on the throne. Now, this is the reason we quote fear or revere or honor him. There is so much about him to be honored and revered. We have to be in his presence regularly and commune with him regularly to get this kavod energy and this kedusha energy. And then we see his hand at work, and we see his gevurah, his power, his strength, his greatness. Moshe is going to reference the greatness when he has his prayer time with him, and begin the whole parsha with a prayer, a parable of his own communication with the Holy One. And he's going to talk about you're great now, beginning to see your greatness, your gevurah. And then there's his chesed, his covenant faithfulness. He is so true, so honoring to his covenant. And it's just stunning. It breaks our hearts and yet awakens us, so it inspires us and encourages us that he's so faithful to his covenant. He's full of chesed. And then Rakam, he is so merciful and so kind and so understanding toward us. Yes, these things should cause us to revere and fear him. That's Moshe's first secret of how to walk with the Holy One and talk to him face to face as a man speaks to his friend and humbly serve him. The second is Hanan. He's going to start the whole parsha by talking about grace. In English we call it, or favor, or goodwill. But the idea of Hanan is that we draw off of him, and what he gives to us is not hate. What he gives us is not anger. What he gives to us is not wrath. What we draw when we come before him humbly and we surrender to him, he begins to lift us up. And this lift us up is with this energy we sense forgiveness. And if you've ever been loved, if you've ever been forgiven, if you've ever been shown kindness and mercy when you did not deserve it and could not function without it, then you will know how he who has forgiven much loves much. There's something that wells up within us when we see his grace and mercy. Moses is going to teach us knowing and how to draw upon his grace and take his grace for what it is, not demand that it be something it's not, or not that he does not desire to, for the sake of his kingdom to build. Moshe is going to ask for things that he knows he's not going to get, but he's going to get something more than he ever asked for. He's going to get a chance to see the land through the eyes of the Holy One, in the presence of the Holy One. And how much better that is than actually going into the land. So, we're going to learn the protocols Moshe uses for Yara to build reverence and fear. We're going to learn his protocols of acting out and drawing upon Hanan, grace of the Holy One. We're going to learn about Shemai. He's going 15 times in this parsha. Moshe is going to talk about Shemai, the voice of the Holy One. Shemai, his devarim, his words, his ways, his mitzvot, his instructions for life, his mishpatim, his statement of how to fix things when they're broken and bring about solutions as opposed to vengeance. And we're going to learn about his Shemai, his hukim, just what he says to us because he's who he is, and we trust him and we do what he says. Then after Yara and Hanan and Shema protocols, Moshe is going to talk about Yalaking, walking, the Kol HaDerech in all of his ways. And that's primarily found in chapter 5, verse 33. Then he's going to teach us the protocols of amaning. We could think of it as faith in English, but it's trust. It's accepting who he is and as being good. Do you accept who the Holy One is as being good, a benevolent, a beloved friend, and yet a very wise mentor? To trust and to accept, it's what a child, a baby does to his birth mother whenever he can't feed himself, but he attaches to her and just trust that something good's going to come to him. Do you trust the Holy One? Do you aman the Holy One? And do you feel safe and protected and provided for in his presence. That's the idea, the secrets of a mind. And Abarim, crossing over, several times in this parsha. There's going to be a whole set of parables that talk about crossing over. And the key factor is we're going to cross over from the world of the raging nations and the thought processes of the raging nations, the thought processes of the wilderness even, and our own flesh and how it cries out in desire and urge and appetite and all sorts of fleshly lusts and appetites and desires. We're going to learn to cross over into that realm where we trust the Holy One. And so crossing over is going to be a big theme. Moshe had to learn how to cross over out of his own anger, out of his own outrage, out of his own self-will, and into the ways of the Holy One. If you're going to be able to walk with and talk to the Holy One face to face, as a man talks to a friend, you've got to learn to cross over into his way, into his world. Yada is another one of the Hebrew verbs that we use. That is going to be one of his protocols of learning how to develop this experiential knowledge and understanding of how the Holy One thinks and what his ways and his words are. And then service. How do we serve the Holy One? Moshe is always reporting for duty and how to serve. And then that all this service leads into love. Once you serve someone, you see how honorable they are and how kind they are and how benevolent they are. There's just a desire. The sense of love comes out of it. And with love comes, English calls it obedience. If you have no obedience, you have no love. You just have some raw human emotion. If you have ahav, if you have the Hebrew form of loving, then it flows with a natural resonance, and we just do the things. We collaborate, co-labor, cooperate, and communicate on a regular basis, and that's ahav. And finally, the protocol of zakaring, remembering, bringing to the forefront of the mind, having a skill and a discipline to bring certain things about the Holy One and his plan back to our mind, to the forefront of our mind, relive them, recommemorate them, to refresh them in our mind. Zakaring, this is one of Moshe's protocols. So Parsha Va'etkana, what a beautiful thing. The other thing he's going to do is a literary device, basically. Moshe is going to set us into a view where our story is going to be about two polar extreme environments. On the one hand, and these are prototypical, these are parabolic, because we're always at these two environments at one level or another, depending on which one we cross over to. The first polar extreme environment metaphor is Beit Peor. He calls it the house of Peor, Beit Peor, the shrine, the temple of Peor. We camped, he says, at Beit Peor, opposite Beit Peor, in the valley, opposite Beit Peor. In other words, we were at an environment where this Peor, the god of the abyss, had a shrine built to him, had a temple built to him. His house was there. And we camped right in front of it, right facing it. And we are always there, beloved, in one realm or another. The God of the abyss, the master of the abyss, is always being honored in some way at some temple, at some shrine. It actually happens in the halls of formal religion, but it happens in the government as well. It happens in the educational institutions. It happens in the entertainment industry. You see it all over as the God of the abyss, the master of the abyss is drawing. His energy is drawing people into the swirling whirlwind, the turmoil of destruction. And that's where we were. We had to face life. Moshe's going to tell these stories about being facing Beit Peor, the house of the God, the master of the abyss. But that's not the only environment we're in, or that he wants to use as a metaphor. There's a totally polar extreme metaphor, and that is Horeb, or Sinai, as we often call it. Oh, if you don't know Sinai, if you don't know Horeb, you won't be able to deal with Beit Peor. And if you don't know Beit Peor is out there and what's happening at Beit Peor, you will forget about it, and you will lose your connection to, and you will lose the energy of Sinai, Horeb. He juxtaposes these two places, these place names, in this part of the Torah and Parsha Vayet Kanan. Uniquely because we need to know the two things that are always pulling at us. The Holy One at Horeb is pulling us in. The shofar is blowing. He's calling us to come and be with Him and walk with Him and hear His voice and become one with Him. But also the Master of the Abyss is calling us as well. And all of His little treasures, all of His little temptations and seductions are being cast out around us, saying, come to this temple, come to the temple of the Master of the Abyss and enjoy His pleasures. Now you know why we have the temptation of Yeshua. I'll leave that for another day to talk about. We will talk about it soon. But before we go too far, we need to sing our call to worship. If you know it, join with me. This is the Baraku, the blessing before reading the actual words of the Torah. Baraku Adonai Hamborak. Baruch Adonai Hamborak Leolam Vayed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. And now, may you open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. For we are just strangers in the earth, so please do not hide your instructions for living a well-lived life from us. And now, gather round, children of the Most High, because it's storytelling time again. The storyteller is ready. He's about to talk to us. We left off at the end of last week's Parsha Devarim, with the end of the phase 1 of the inspired retrospective. Moshe is speaking to Yehoshua, and he's saying to Joshua, as we call him in the Western world often, your eyes have seen, Yehoshua, your eyes too, you have seen all the things that the Holy One, your God, has done to these kings. He's talking in that portion about Og and Sichon, the Amorite kings. You've seen what the Holy One has done to these kings. Even so will the Holy One do to all the kingdoms through which you pass. You must never fear them. Fear. Remember the Yareh. Who do we fear? It is not the loud mouth, the saber rattling, angry, outraging, wily kings of the world. It's the Holy One. So this is the first key, is who not to fear, before we get to who we will fear. You must never fear them, for the Holy One, your God Himself, will fight, consume, devour, lacham. He will do that for you. That's where we ended last week. What a story. It's, Moshe is poignantly looking Yehoshua in the eye, looking all of us across the generations in the eye, saying, do you understand? Do you understand who you serve and who is trying to stop you? Now the opening lines of this week's Parsha Vayet Kanan. The Holy One has Moshe talking again, and Moshe is going to tell a parable of his own personal prayer life. It goes like this. Vayet Kanan el Adonai be'ed ha'i. And then, in time, I went to the Holy One's grace and favor. I threw myself upon it. I cast myself into the energy of His grace and His favor. Lemor Adonai, Adonai ata, hakilod leharot, et abdeka et gadleka. And I said to the Holy One, Master, compassionate One, you have begun to show your servant your greatness. Do you hear these themes coming out that I mentioned to you earlier? The ways in which Moshe maintained face-to-face communication with the Holy One. And he's maintained this state of being the most humble man upon the earth. and walk with the Holy One as a man walks with a friend. He's giving the secrets to you in this little parable of his own personal prayer life. In time I went to the Holy One's grace and favor. I threw myself into it. And I said, Master, compassionate one, you have begun to show your servant your greatness. And your mighty hand and your strength. For who? Asher mi'el b'hashamayim uvaretz. And who is sovereign like you in the heavens and the earth? See the yara, how the yara of fear of the Holy One, the reverence of the Holy One, the wonder and awe of the Holy One works, and it's for the key, foundational, fundamental aspect of learning a relationship with God and bringing kingdom of heaven centered society to the earth in real time. We must have this as our base. It continues. Moshe continues his parable. Who can work your works, do your deeds? Who can equal your strength and your might and your power? Let me cross over now. And see that good land. That is lying in the crossing over of the Jordan. That good mountain and the whiteness of the Jerusalem stone hills beyond the Lebanon. And the Holy One ordained a crossing for me, for your sakes. Velo Shema Elai, but he did not Shema resonate with my request. Instead, the Holy One said to me, I'll slip in English, Rav Lach, enough about you, enough of what you want. Speak no more to me of this matter, the words of the Holy One. Ale Rosh HaPisgah, you do this, go to climb to the top of the Mount Pisgah. V'sa'u enecha, and lift up your eyes, Moshe, toward the west and the north and the south and the east. V're'eh enecha, and behold it with your eyes. Ki lo ta'avor, for you will not cross over in the physical realm. Et ha-Yordan, hazeh, this Jordan that you're talking about. But vetsav et Yehoshua, but speak to Yehoshua, charge him and encourage and strengthen him, the Holy One said. Ki hu ya'avor, for he will go over and cross over before this people, and he will cause them to inherit the land that I will show you. So 4 times this parable of prayer, personal prayer, and face-to-face conversation with the Holy One is given to us as our example, our fundamental basis of everything we're going to do. And 4 times he mentions crossing over from the way we're thinking to the way the Holy One's thinking, crossing over to the plans that men make, to the plans that the Holy One himself designs for the good of his creation and for the blessing of the world. For the redemption of mankind as a species, bloodline by bloodline, household by household, individual by individual, as many as will come to and shema the sound of his voice, and to restore all creation, ecosystem to its original intended state of beauty and fruitfulness and shalom and harmonious interaction like it was in Eden. This is the crossing over we're calling to do. And Moshe concludes chapter 3 by saying, so we stayed, we remained encamped in the valley. Opposite, facing, in front of us was Beit Peor, the house of the God, the master of the abyss. Now, Israel, Moshe says, beginning with chapter 4, now, O Israel, Shema, Shema the statutes and the judgments, the hukim and the mishpatim, that I am teaching you to guard and protect, that you may live. That why do you do this? That you, not just I, Moshe would say, not just I and my 40 years of walking with the Holy One face to face, but that you may live, and that you may go in, cross over, go in and possess the land that the Holy One, the God of your fathers, is entrusting to you. Lo tosifu et el hadabar. Do not add your own ways, your own thoughts, your own religion to the words and the substantive things that I'm charging you, Moses said. Velo tigreu. Do not take away from it. Do not remove things from it. It's been done away with, or been abolished, or been superseded, or been fulfilled in ways that means it goes away. Velo tigreu. Do not do that. Lishmor et mitzvot Adonai Elohechem, that you may continue to guard, treasure, cherish, and protect all the instructions for living of the Holy One your God, with which Moshe says, I charge you, I give you, and lay before you. And then he gives the great object lesson of Beit Peor. Your eyes have seen, he says. Your eyes have seen what the Holy One did at Baal Peor. For the Holy One your God has excised from among you all the men who pursued relationship with the master of the abyss, the Baal of Peor. You've seen it. Those who were among you that were following after, were sucked into the vortex of Beit Peor and Baal Peor, that were sucked into the ways of the master of the abyss and his seductions. You saw what happened to them. But you who held fast and devout, you who held fast to the Holy One, you who bonded with him, who joined up with him, you who were in unity with him, you who followed the disciplines and the protocols and stayed free and closed your ears and closed your heart to the ways of the master of the abyss. The Holy One your God, he held you, and Chaim Kulkim Hayom. All of you are thriving, alive, fully alive today. That's the difference. Which do you choose? Do you choose Beit Peor, the house of the master of the underworld, the master of the abyss, and all of its seductions and temptations? Do you choose the master of the philosophies and the ideologies and the political structures and the economic systems? Do you choose their ways? Do you choose this boulevard of a thousand dreams, this midway of pleasure and pain that the world throws at you? Or are you attuned instead? Will you tune instead, and will you cross over to the thoughts, the processes as revealed at Horeb, at Sinai? How well attuned, how covenantally in sync, I asked you earlier, are you with the Holy One, our partner in the covenant? How are you at joining him, joining up with him, cleaving to him, keeping up with him, walking with him, bonding with him? How good, how presently effective and efficient are you at zalaming him, being his mirror, his shadow, staying in his shade, in the boundaries of his shade, not drifting off into the dark light, the black light of the God of the abyss? How are you doing at all of that? Well, Moshe will give us a parable of poignant prayer. I've read that for you. We've walked through it together. It was a personal, poignant moment for Moshe. He gave it to you so it would be so different than most of the discussions you would even you would be struck by it. How personally intimate it was. He very seldom pulls back the curtain and lets you see what's going on in his own heart. He says, that's the way the Holy One does me, so it's what I wanted to do to you. The inspired drama of his personal prayer. The fact that the Holy One gave him something which was more than he could possibly ask. To see things through the Holy One's eyes, in his presence. Have him talk to him about it. As opposed to just seeing things with his natural eyes and being gone in New York in a minute. So the first part of this parsha is Moshe's poignant personal prayer paradigm or parable. The second thing is he warns us about the consequences of distraction by Beit Peor and Baal Peor, the god of the abyss, the god of the underworld, the god of the distractions, and the god of seductions, and the god of enticements and temptations. He warns us about the consequences of distraction. And so we have so much more that we can live from if we just stay connected to Horeb and Sinai in this revelation. And then in chapter 5, the meat of this whole parsha is about remembering, zakaring, bringing back to Sinai, back to Horeb, back to that day when the shofar blast rang out from heaven and called us nearer, back to the day when the 10 words, a prophetic declaration of who we are and how the Holy One sees us and how He's preparing us to be able to begin to build a kingdom of heaven, ascended society on earth. Those 10 words that He said, He lives them out. He repeats them. He remembers them. He speaks them again over us in chapter 5 of Deuteronomy, which is in the midpoint of Parsha et Canaan. And He says, and the Holy One said these things, and He wrote them on 2 tablets of stone, and He gave them to me to teach to you. This is His legacy, Moshe's legacy. This is His magnum opus. This is what He really wants to talk to us about, what the Holy One taught Him about life. And so we talk about the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, a whole chapter devoted to that. And then He talks about the 3 cities of refuge. He says, this will be manifested by the people of the Holy One will show they honor the victim. They honor the one who is even accused. They honor the due process of law because the Holy One would say to do that. They honor the Holy One's ways, the requirements of 2 witnesses that agree, that are unbiased, that are not participants or litigants in the part, and don't have an axe to grind in the case. They about qualification of witnesses, not being bribe takers or someone who is swayed by any form of fear of man or any form of choosing one group or ethnicity or race or economic group over another. You see, the Holy One wants you to understand cities of refuge. Make your city, make your house a city of refuge. And then we go further, and finally He's going to conclude the Parsha with the Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, declaration of who we are, the one thing that will awaken our hearts even in the moment of our death. We say the Shema because we want to awaken the Neshama, the God-breathed eternal spirit within us. And He goes on, and finally He ends up saying, okay, when you go into the land, you're going to be faced with another Peor. It'll look a little different, it'll have a different label on it, but it'll be what the Canaani, the Amorites, and the other ites of the land do, how they behave. It's all going to be another temple or shrine to the God of the underworld, the master of the abyss, the master of the seductions and temptations. Do you know what to do? Do you know how to stay attuned to Sinai and the heart of the Holy One and the instructions of the Holy One and follow them? Because if you don't, when you go into Canaan, you go into the land that's been promised to you, that was the land of your patriarchs and the land of the benchmark or the beachhead of Kingdom of Heaven coming to earth. When you get there, you will not handle it correctly and you will not live long in the land. Well, Moshe's main goal, obviously, throughout the entire book of Deuteronomy is prepare us to cross over into the promised land, to cross over into the purpose and the destiny for which the Holy One has given us. The purpose of Moshe and Parsha and Sefer Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, is to prepare us to become who we were created to be and to build on earth in real time in our world, in every conversation we attend, in every interaction we participate in all the places we go, in all the spheres of influence we're given to participate in His grand plan and to build a kingdom of heaven ascended society stone by stone, conversation by conversation, word by word as we go. Well, beloved, it's time for me to leave you now. I hope you enjoy your studies in Parsha et Canaan and beyond. If you need more resources, materials to look at, you have a few moments today, I encourage you to go to the website, thebiblicallifestylecenter.org. That's our website at our fellowship. And there's a page on it called the Rabbi's Son page, and that's how I'm designated, how they call me, the Rabbi's Son. And I'll have on there the studies that I prepared for my children as we homeschool, that I homeschool all through their lives up to the time they graduated. And we have these studies now, that 6 per week. And so I encourage you to go through the archive section of the Rabbi's Son page and review all about Va'et Canaan and each of its aliyot, and go forward in that and enjoy it. If you're there and you're being blessed and you think that you really are being called to contribute or participate in some way in what we're doing to share this message with the world, then I encourage you to hit the donate button and give whatever the Holy One tells you to give. Thank you for that. We do need your gifts to keep this process going, keep this ministry forward. Now, go and build the kingdom of heaven centered society upon the earth in your world. Shabbat Shalom.